This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we heard the recording. Welcome. I see Brendan Little has joined us on GoToMeeting. So welcome, Brendan. I'm Gail Grammarosa. Nice to see you after our email correspondence. Can you see and hear us all okay? There's some of us here in Belchertown Town Hall, and then we've got colleagues and committee members along with yourself virtually. So as long as you can see and hear us, we're good to go.
Yep, I can see and hear you. Thank you so much for having me.
Great, welcome. Welcome everybody. I'm going to officially open the meeting. This is the September 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Belchertown Opioid Settlement Funds Advisory Committee. We are recording the meeting. Belchertown Community TV, that has been here at previous meetings, is not here with us today, but this recording will be made available through the town, the website, and the YouTube channel, and other ways that people who are not here with us in the moment, either virtually or in person, could watch the recording or listen to this if they so choose to do. So welcome again to our meeting. Most of our agenda today, we're going to do some updates. We've got our guest speaker, Brendan's here from Boston. We'll introduce ourselves in a second, Brendan, so you know who we are. We also just want to catch up on some applications and things that are out there, and then also hear about some countywide activities, and then think about what we want to have. I've got a couple questions for our October meeting. Welcome back, everybody. Brendan, just so that you know, we took a break in August, so we have not been together as a committee since July. So welcome back now that we're back into the fall business. We're rolling. So why don't we do some quick introductions so we all know who everybody is. I'll just get us rolling. I'm Gail Grammarosa. I serve as the chair. And of the membership of this committee, I am the community member. So that's the slot that I fill. And I'll start with maybe Jill and then Chris.
I'm Jill Rossi. I'm actually the town accountant. I'm the financial person on the committee.
And I'm Chris Hogue. I am the Director of Drug-Free Communities and also the co-chair of BOAT, Belchertown Overcoming Adversity Together Coalition, and I am the school representative for this committee.
Great. Let me turn to Angela, another one of our committee members, and then I'll turn to Lauren.
Hi, Angela Battle. I'm the co-chair of BOAT and the BOAT representative on this committee.
Hi folks, hey Brendan, nice to meet you. Lauren Kelly, she, her. I'm the coordinator for the Hampshire Hope Coalition, which is our regional countywide coalition. And I'm here as a community member.
Great. And let's also, Brendan, I don't know if you can see her, but Emma is here with us, another one of our guest colleagues and partners.
I'm Emma. I'm the epidemiologist for the Quabog Hill Substance Use Alliance.
Oh, there we go. The camera went right over to you. I like this technology with the 4 heads and all that. I'm just so grateful that I got the darn thing to work after, because I know the BCTV person often helps me. So I'm just so grateful that it's all working. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Great. So we recorded the meeting. I told you about BCTV. Again, David, our Board of Health rep, not here today. He is actually, just so we know, and he may have some info for us at our next meeting. David is a retired physician, and he is in Denver right now at the American Academy of Pediatrics conference. So when he emailed me that he was not going to join our meeting today, he said if he learns anything, new and different and interesting about, he's particularly interested as a former pediatrician with youth and opioid use. So if he comes across anything exciting, he said he would bring it back to our group. Let me turn just quickly to Emily, another one of our committee members. Brendan is with us from Boston. So we were just introducing ourselves.
Hi, I'm Emily Kirby. I'm the Director of Prevention and Community Health for the town of Ware, and I represent Quabog Hill Substance Use Alliance on the committee. And sorry,
Great,
I'm
nice to meet you.
stuck behind a tow truck.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all. And I was just saying earlier, and maybe for the next agenda, since we've got this one already for this month, but Jill and I were saying sometimes Monday morning is a tricky time to do a meeting. So we could always reopen and revisit that conversation about when and how to meet, if that helps at all. So anyway, I'm grateful that you all are here, and just one item before we turn things over to you, Brendan, to hear more about your work. I know some of you were at the boat meeting, I think that was last week, but for those of you who weren't, just to remind ourselves, more money is coming with new settlements. I was on the Attorney General's, the Mass Attorney General's webinar, I think it was last week or the week before, and they talked about 2 new settlements. One with Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family, if you remember, big Purdue, pretty big manufacturing company distributor. And then a second settlement that they grouped a bunch of smaller manufacturers together, and they called them the secondary opioid manufacturers. I have to admit, I didn't recognize any of the names, so I don't think they're as famous as some of the other, well known as some of the other kinds of manufacturers, distributors that are out there. But the good news is more money coming. The amounts that had already been determined that project all the way out to 2038 with our town and other towns are still there. So this is additional money coming. And I know Jill and I had a brief email. Belchertown's already signed on to the Purdue one, and we're just checking in to make sure we get on to that second one. The deadline is not until next month. And the emails were sent out, unfortunately, with the AG's office. They sent them out like right at the end of August when probably a lot of people were on vacation. Mm-hmm. So even on the webinar, they said, go back into your emails, double check, and make sure that you're, you get signed on to these groups, so that we're in the pipeline. And then my understanding is, and we'll get more detail, but once all the towns that are going to sign on, then they're going to use their formulas to figure out how much every town gets. And then we'll be notified what that amount will be and how many years it's going to project out. I can't remember what they said about each of those 2 settlements. Anyway, before I forget, Elsa, I see that you're with us online through the GoToMeeting. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to say hello and introduce yourself. Welcome to our committee meeting.
Sorry I'm late. I did not have quite the right tech for today, so I apologize. My name is Elsa Gomes Bondlow. I'm a co-founder with Brendan of the Family Opioid Settlement Fund, and we started Halo together, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. But thank you for having me with you.
Oh, great. No, welcome to both of you. We're very excited to hear. It's something we've been thinking about. So any questions on the new settlement? Again, more info to come, details about the money, and when the money actually starts to flow, that will be more details to come probably at a later date. But I guess I think of all of that as good news. And from what I could gather from that webinar, the Purdue settlement is a large one. Obviously, it's a large corporation, so it's a pretty large settlement, and it looks like Massachusetts will benefit quite well from it. So great. All right, anything else that I missed? We've got everybody introduced. Let me turn things over to Elsa and to Brendan. I'll just give you background. Our committee has been talking about this concept for a while, some kind of funds, the ways to support families and individuals. We've been thinking about it both with respect to, as you all do, after an overdose death, but we've also wondered about whether it could be done even in a broader context. But we're happy to I'll just turn things over to you. Maybe tell us about how your program works, and I'm curious about how many people have used it, and then we'll open it up maybe for questions or comments from the committee. So thank you again for being here.
Great, thank you, everybody. Thank you again for having us. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here. So my name is Brendan Little, and I was born and raised in Boston. I have lived experience with both substance use disorder and homelessness, and I helped found the Office of Recovery Services at the City of Boston, where I served as policy director for several years. And during that time, we would get constituent calls from people in the city that needed funerals paid for after a loved one died of an overdose, and there was no dedicated funding at that time. This is like 2021 timeline, and luckily I got introduced to Elsa, my colleague here, who has many philanthropic ties and has been working in philanthropy in the social service sector for a million years, and she's just super experienced and really just cared. So she, through some of her philanthropic contacts, was able to help one-off here or there, just pay for funerals, which was an enormous help. And then we just kind of became the people that, like you do it once or twice, then it's like all of a sudden you're like the person that does that. So then I've left the city in 2021, and was just, doing consulting and various other projects, but still in this field. And, we would still get emails even after I was gone from the city about paying for funerals. So I was on the ORF for a couple of years, and Joanne Peterson from Learn to Cope and I were also, we were both on it. In every meeting, we would bring up families and loved ones left behind, because in every meeting it would just kind of be shot down, kind of like, oh, that's sad, but we've got other stuff to do, which I understand, having come from public health. I understand the urgency of syringe exchange and treatment beds and all the things that feel more immediate and often are more immediate. But what we really argued is that this is also prevention, in like early intervention when somebody loses a loved one. As you know, it's often a family disease. Substance use kind of trickles through family, or people are impacted by the loss. So we really view coming in with support, not just financially, but community support, can be really helpful in kind of mitigating some of that harm that's done. Are you able to give me a sharing ability so I could share?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think folks here might have to remind me. Let's see. If I go and try to make presenter, would that work?
It should be.
Let's try it.
It would make the most sense.
Change presenter. Yes.
There you go.
All right, let's work, Brendan.
Okay. Sorry, 1 second. It's asking me for all sorts of stuff now.
No worries.
All right, I think. All right, let's see. I think that should be good.
I don't see a slide. If you're using a slide, maybe. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, just took a second, but yeah, it's there.
All right, you can see it now?
Yep. Yep. I got to figure out how to make it bigger. Can somebody remind me?
How's this? Can you see that?
Yeah, no, to where it says everyone.
Yep.
If you click on that, it might change.
Hide everyone, and then we see, there we go. So Brenda, we could see your slide nice and big.
All right, good stuff.
And we could still hear you. Perfect. Thanks,
all right,
everybody.
it's a miracle. Wow.
Team effort here. Great.
And all on a Monday before 11 a.m. It's a miracle. All right. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to go over a little bit of what we just talked about, but a little bit more in depth now. And Elsa, feel free to jump in at any point.
Thank you.
So, as Elsa just introduced herself, and I introduced myself, we are co-founders, co-directors of Halo Initiatives, which is something that we started with the inaugural grant being the Family Overdose Support Fund that the city of Boston started. So, but we created this separate entity, which we're in the process of becoming our own 501c3 to be able to do this beyond just the city of Boston, potentially statewide or in other communities.
Okay, great.
So, yes, HALO stands for Healing After Loss to Overdose. We support individuals who've lost a loved one to opioid overdose by offering financial assistance, promoting health, healing, and community connection. And as I mentioned a little bit, we aim to alleviate the financial burdens, but also mitigate the intergenerational trauma that can affect families after an overdose death. So it's not just another, charity, quote unquote, or another just giving people money without anything attached to it. We're really trying to think about this on a larger scale than just the individuals. So our work informally began in 2020. As I said, Elsa has a social equity access fund to pay for community requests to support loved ones. And we just kind of stumbled into it. And then, in 4 years, before we were official, we helped 16 families with no dedicated funding. This was all through Elsa's community contacts. And then my connections kind of at the city. And we were a good duo in getting this done. And then in 2023, we wrote an op-ed in the Boston Globe. We co-authored an op-ed calling for public funding to help families after overdose. So obviously the most kind of abundant source of funds coming from the litigation funds that are coming through to various cities in the state. So our inaugural fund is the Family Overdose Support Fund, which is a partnership between the City of Boston, Boston Public Health Commission, and Boston Bullpen Project's HALO initiative. So our fiscal sponsor and collaborator on this is the Boston Bullpen Project. So because they already have the mechanisms and have deep community ties to get money out to people quickly, we partnered with them. And they've been phenomenal in helping us kind of bring this to reality. So we have 4 main focus areas for financial support: legal fees, funerals, child wellness, and behavioral health. And I'm going to go a little bit more into those. So funerals are funeral costs, cremation costs. It could also be headstones, various stuff like that. Anything related to funerals or the cost of deaths. Child wellness is the most kind of roomy area, which is by design. We wanted that to be one of the most kind of flexible. And it could be behavioral health therapy, after school or extracurricular activities, sports, music, dance, arts-based stuff. Summer camp, we paid for, I think, 1 or 2 summer camps this past summer. Behavioral health, and this is for anybody at any age, individualized therapy, group therapy. We even had a young woman who we paid for her mindfulness app that she had on her phone. So that was something that we supported her with. And then legal fees. We haven't done a lot of this, but this is something that we also offer, which is pertaining to custody, wills, probate, anything involving a loved one who passed. So for this fund, the city's fund, because it's the city of Boston's dollars, we needed to make the criteria for eligibility a little bit more stringent just so we can have enough money for everybody. So the applicant must have lost their family member within 2 years. The deceased must be spouse, father, father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother, sister, child, grandparent, grandchild, basically like immediate family. And the applicant must be a Boston resident. That's the important part. It's not the person who passed, it's the applicant. So if an applicant lives in Boston, but their loved one died in Georgia, they can still apply for this fund because it's for them. Family Overdose Support Fund does not provide direct cash, so we directly pay invoices on eligible applicants' behalf. So they'll give us the invoice from the funeral home, and we've built up a lot of relationships with funeral homes, and they know us now, and we have a very good relationship. And so that cuts down also it being City of Boston opioid money, being mindful about being good shepherds of that and spending it responsibly. So that's one of the reasons why we do that. And then what to expect after you apply. When you put everything in, which is like proof of address, that you're a Boston resident, proof that you're related by family, and then some sort of proof or suggestion of an overdose. It can be really hard to get that in the immediate aftermath of an overdose because the toxicology doesn't come in for 3 to 6 months. So if somebody's applying and the death happened a year ago, that's a lot easier because there's already a death certificate and we can see that. But if somebody dies tomorrow and then we have to pay for it, on Wednesday or Thursday, that will just say pending, so we won't know. But what we do have is partnerships with the Boston Police and with the Vital Records Office at the city. So we're able to kind of say, hey, did the police respond to 2 Maple Street for an overdose on August 30th? And they'll say, yes, we did. And it's not a perfect system because sometimes they'll go and so it's still a lot of kind of like doing our best to kind of
Your sound is not great.
together.
Can you get closer?
Yeah, let me get another
Yeah.
headphone.
It's a bit. So one of the things I would say around the decision to pay more than just a funeral is that during the time that myself and Brendan were responding to people, we were really just meeting people where they were at, and we had no limits as far as what they were asking us for. So if they said a funeral costs $10,000, we would raise the $10,000 and we would pay for it, because it wasn't our place. We didn't feel to tell somebody, hey, don't go there, go here, or your loved one doesn't deserve this, doesn't deserve that. We would just pay it. Once it became the city money, of course, we have to be, good stewards, and the same rule applies to all. It's up to $5,000, and it's for everybody the same, and it's looking back up to 2 years. Any kind of payment is in that realm. But we really try to listen to what the families told us over the years, that it wasn't just a funeral, it was all these other things, right? Or that they were left with loved ones, children, whether it's the grandparents raising kids or the aunt and uncle having to step in and not having the resources to really help. So this is a result of all those conversations, as well as the city of Boston, the Boston Public Health Commission, doing a survey of the community, which is actually online, and we can send it to you, of what it was that the community wanted and needed. And so this is really in response to all of that. So it didn't come kind of in a vacuum of why we got to these 4 categories.
Yep. And can you hear me better now?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Right, good. Sure, okay. Sorry about that. So in the last 8 months, we've served more than 40 families, primarily Black and Brown families from Roxbury and Dorchester, which I think is something that is kind of different from what usually happens around substance use family supports. They're primarily led by white people, primarily in suburbs or more rural parts of the state. And this is something I've talked with Joanne Peterson and Robin about at The Sun Will Rise and Saddle D, the people who are also in this space. And they've always wanted to make inroads to Boston to create more, to have more equitable people that they serve. And just because Boston can be a little insular, just generally. So this is really exciting for us. And it just shows that there is a huge need for all populations, not just, people who are white and live in the suburbs or rural parts of the state. So we will continue to spread the word to Boston families. We hope to grow partnerships locally and nationally and help more families in the aftermath, and advocate for continued funding for this population. And that's our website. So if you know of anybody who is eligible and wants to apply, you can come, or you can just visit. And these are our contact information. So if you need to reach out to us, please don't hesitate. We're always happy to talk to you. And that's it. That's our presentation.
Great, thank you. Just a quick question for both of you. Are you comfortable sharing the slides with us, just so that we have it as part of our background info or whatever? We don't anticipate putting it out to the public just yet, but just for our committee?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Excellent. And I think you had mentioned a survey as well. I know for the committee in advance of this meeting, I myself had just downloaded your application form just to get an idea, shared that with the committee and the website. But yeah, any other information you think would be helpful for us as we think about how and if and in what form maybe this kind of thing could work in our community. Any of that would be really helpful. Let me do this. So do I unhide everybody or what do I, let's see, how do I do that?
We do have like a flyer, like I don't know if you can see it, but basically it's the information that is in the slide, but it might be easier to share as far as just like a 2-pager. Basically, I'm happy to send that to you as well. And we're in the
Great.
process of translating it in different languages so that it's accessible to everybody. But our website is accessible, multilingual, so you can change the language and use it in whatever language you may need.
Excellent, excellent.
Great.
Great information. Let me open up the meeting to any of the committee members or our partners, guests, anybody who's here who has questions or comments or for Brendan and Elsa while we have them.
I don't necessarily have questions. I do have a comment. Well done.
I know.
This is huge. I've known people who have been through all of this, and it's a lonely place to be. So just having that hope, community-centered hope, is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to kind of commend you on what you're doing. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Other questions, comments?
Just like logistics, I mean, for us, I mean, as a committee, logistically, like, if, as we think about doing this and putting this into place, we want to, how are we gonna do this? Like, if somebody, are we only gonna do it once a month? Having applications come to us once a month, do you see what I'm saying? Like, we meet once a month, so we're gonna have to figure out some type of strategy to go around that. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we're going through this. But I think thank you again. I mean, amazing work and for sharing it with us. This is definitely something we've been anticipating putting together.
I do.
Yeah. I know, I have a question too, but go ahead. Go right ahead.
Do you have written guidelines, like a sheet with written guidelines? You talked about having to be from Boston and yada, yada. Do you have anything in writing for that, or is it on your site? Just so we can kind of.
It is on the site.
Yeah,
Yep.
eligibility criteria is on the site, and again, those were determined by the terms of the grant, right? So we went back and forth, obviously, in some of them, but because the money's from Boston, it has to stay within Boston. Some of those things are just requirements that the committee had, and also what they heard as well from the community. I was trying to find the link to send you their survey that they did of the community before they started this, but I mean, that's always a great place to start, is to ask your own community what their needs are and can kind of walk from there. And as far as immediacy, I mean, one of the things that makes this program so special, and that one of the reasons why we partnered with the Boston Bullpen Project, is that they already had a mechanism. They were an organization that basically pays for bills of different, organizations. So basically they partner with nonprofit organizations, and let's say a childcare organization doesn't have the money to buy, books for a child. And so they step in and they pay for that. So that was their expertise, is paying bills. So it didn't matter what bill they paid. So we partnered with them because we didn't have that mechanism of being able to be immediate and pay for the bill when it needs to be paid. So I mean, as far as, I don't know, the person who spoke before, like when would you review these? This has to be kind of immediate, because if somebody needs to bury a loved one, it has to be within, a few days. So that's one of the things that we had to really find the right partner to be able to process. And maybe your committee only meets once a month, but maybe there could be revolving windows where people apply, and then there's a day or whatever to once a week or whatever it is that you have to, if you have any applications, then you would review them then and apply. I mean, our idea also in the future is to do some hopefully technical assistance to some other places, I don't know, you're probably like the 10th presentation we do for different towns and cities.
Oh,
And the
great.
idea, at least Brendan, you correct me, but you do more of these than I do together. But a lot of cities and states. So we've been contacted by at least 5 states, I would say, on ideas on how to spend their opioid settlement fund. So as far as we know, this is the first in the country that exists spending, especially the opioid settlement funds for this purpose. Mostly are to help obviously the victims and people affected by the crisis, not their families. So we hope that it sticks and that it's something that becomes acceptable. I think it always takes one and then everybody else can kind of
Right.
follow. But we hope that this example shows we're not even at the capacity that we think we should be as far as serving 40 families in 7 months, 6 months. We hope that with, again, translating in different languages, doing outreach like this, even if it is to other towns, that the word will spread, and that we also didn't do as much publicity as we would like, so we're trying to raise funds and do some work around spreading the word for this. We had a lot of press, I would say, in the beginning, but it kind of dies down a little bit, so we're trying to figure out how to do that and get the word out there. Especially, we've seen some pieces in the media, as probably you have, about funds not being spent fast enough, right? Like people are getting impatient. It's like, where's this money? Why is it not being spent? So we really want to say, no, it is. And here's one way that you could find something like that.
And I just want to add on to that. I think it's also like separate from this being like the right thing to do and the just and you know just the right thing to do morally and ethically. It's also good for solving that PR problem of the like you're not spending your money because like it's the most direct you can kind of get these funds to being some sort of restitution or some sort of reparation for a harm. It's not going to solve it or fix it, but it's an attempt to. And I think it's one of the more kind of direct ones that is really kind of putting the money in the right place.
One of the things that, we would have to think about, obviously Boston, big city, we love Boston, I went to school there. Here we are in Belchertown in the western part of the state, relatively small community. Thinking about, doing this, I guess for us, thinking about would this be feasible, and obviously, want advice. Our role, by the way, too, is to kind of look at programs. We have an application process where providers and other services can apply for money, also within the municipal government itself. So for example, we have funded the Boat Coalition and the schools, but then we advise our select board, right? Our small town version of a city council about how they have to make the actual approval, and then the money can be spent in the way that we have recommended. So I think one of our challenges, and maybe with your TA down the road, do we do this in-house with our current accounting and bill paying structures, or do we work with a subcontractor? So I'm curious about, obviously the city of Boston, it's their money, but you work with, I assume, in a subcontracting way. One of my questions is, do they take any kind of payment as part of helping you with the quick bill paying and all of that? And what your thoughts might be about pros and cons between working with a partner organization, an outside, maybe nonprofit, versus having this process go through municipal government?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. I think that there's pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah.
I think that we got up to a little bit of a rocky start just because, again, it's never been done before. So there was no precedent we could look to say like, oh, what did they do in Baltimore? Or what did they do here? Like we just kind of started doing it. So I think that it depends on how many people you're getting in too, how many applicants. I think if it's a small amount, you can manage it. I do think that there's something good about subcontracting out to somebody because they can help kind of foster some of these other connections and these community connections. And it's not like, I don't know. I think that it could be a little bit easier. From my understanding, I worked at the city for many years and have dealt with the state in many different capacities. And just getting like money out the door can be so unreliable and such a mess. And this is not something you really want to mess with because it is so urgent and it is so
Right.
literally like life or death for many people. It's very serious.
Yep.
So I think that component, that's why the city decided to do it, because I think that they were thinking maybe we can do this ourselves. But actually, when they put out the first RFP, nobody applied. And then they came back to Elsa and I were like, hey, like nobody applied, and can you help us think through this? And at that point, Elsa and I were like, let's apply for this. Let's think about because it's really hard to do because nobody's done it again. But now there's a precedent, so I feel like we have kind of a responsibility to talk about what we've learned, some of the pros and cons, some of the missteps, but also what's been working great.
And we've been talking to the state as well to even try to find a solution that works for everybody in every community, right? Which is kind of a utopia, right? Because every town and municipality has their own mechanisms and their own systems and everything. But what would it look like if, everybody could join some forces and find, a pool of money and all benefit, even though some would benefit more and less because the deaths are different, right? And the amounts are different. So we've been talking to them to really think this through, and we think that we can also, if we do get some state funding at some point, become almost like a convener of some of these ideas, because we've done it, because we've been so close to the ground with it, and we've seen it grow at this rate so far, and we think that it has the potential to do it. There's also the Mass Municipal Association. I've been in contact with them because they have, again, meetings with all the municipalities, and maybe they could be a helpful convener of some of these ideas around this type of funding. So we continue to kind of think it through and take ideas both from people that are contacting us like you ourselves, and other states that are giving us ideas as well and asking for support. So we also feel like you said, the different parts of the geographic parts of the state have different experiences, both with the amount of money and what they're doing with it. And I don't think everybody knows what everybody else is doing as much. There's no way to really communicate that. So we think that even just, we may be getting together, every 3 months, quarterly, statewide, and having some meetings where we can just share, what is it that you're doing, and so that way, it's nobody's job to do this. So I think that's why we don't think about it, and everybody has enough to do on their plate. But we think it's something that we could take on as far as convening people and talking about these issues, because we're not saying we know everything. And like Brendan said, we've learned some hard lessons going on, but at the time that somebody's really grieving and has just lost a loved one is really not the time to try and figure things out bureaucratically. It feels very disrespectful to really talk about,
Totally.
money at the time when somebody's at their lowest. So we really want to take that away from how we serve people, and how we meet them where they're at, as far as, even their grief. A lot of it is just that they don't know about it, right? They don't know this exists, and so they're kind of skeptical. They're asking questions, and what do you mean you're going to pay my bill? Like, this is very new to people. They're grateful, but it's very unexpected. So I think even just getting their heads wrapped around what could be, and that's something that I think before you even start is something that you can talk to your community and see what you're hearing from them. and talk to organizations that are on the ground, grassroots organizations that are working with this type of population, and see what comes up. But then also talk to the schools, because I'm sure there are kids that in your school systems that their families are affected. I mean, one person dying affects so many other people around, right? The neighborhood, the families, the doctors, the healthcare workers around the family. So it's really helpful to just listen to what the communities are leading us to do, and then just follow their lead, I would say. So sorry, it's not a clear answer, but I also think maybe even thinking the system through. If we did it through the city and town, this is how it would go. If we did it with partnerships, that's how we would go. We are actually we're not a 501c3. So when we partner with Bullpen Project, they are our fiscal sponsor. So they are actually, they're the ones that receive the grant and apply on our behalf. And then together we are doing things under Halo. And that's another reason why Brenda mentioned we are in the process of applying for our own 501c3, because at some point this grant will become, if it will continue, it'll become big, and it's kind of not the same thing as what Bullpen does. So we are in the process of doing that. But right now they are the grantee from the city grant. So we operate out of those dollars.
One other thing I think that Elsa talked about, not burdening families like after there's been a loss to a loved one. So that's one suggestion, regardless of which way you go. And we're happy to talk to you about, potential of subcontracting or whatever, what that process looked like, or we could connect you to the City of Boston colleagues we have. But is to keep as low as you can, the threshold of paperwork and documentation, keep it as minimal as possible while still being financially responsible. Because, when we first did this, we're like, should there be an economic component? Should there, do people have to prove that they're low income or not? And we just said, no. We're saying that this affects everybody. And, we don't have millionaires applying to us. We just don't, it's like the people who need financial support are applying for us. So I think that's important. But then the other piece is having that municipal or town or city, tie is really important, because, we have this situation with the Vital Records Office of the City of Boston, where if a family doesn't have the birth certificate or their marriage certificate to prove they were married, we can just write them now and they just email it to us. So the family doesn't have to pay for it. They don't have to go online or go to City Hall. So I think the story is not just like, yes, we pay for funerals. That's kind of like the high level. But I think the other piece that's really important is this kind of community convening across city, nonprofit, state, businesses. Like we're working all together, which is not something you see in today's political and, government climate as much. So I think we're really proud of that. And I think that is something, any city that we talk to, I also say that, like, make sure you're having really good conversations and relationships with EMS, police, fire, the first responders that are going there, but then also Vital Records. If there's a children's office or, the schools, all that stuff, I think is really important.
Yeah, great advice.
I had a quick question. So I also sit on the Opioid Settlement Funds Committee for the town of Palmer. And this is something we've discussed at length. And one of the things we've been considering, which might make more sense for the scale of Palmer as opposed to Boston, is in the mindfulness of not burdening families who have just undergone loss, partnering with the funeral homes directly, and actually having the funeral homes be the applicants as opposed to the family members themselves, just so we're lowering the work for those folks just to the bare minimum. What are your thoughts on that?
Good question.
Mixed. I think that it's the funeral homes are great partners. They're really awesome. They're able to really help us kind of coordinate stuff. And they're good advocates for the people. I think sometimes though, sometimes they'll send people to us that it's a little murky, like the criteria is a little murky, and like maybe the person had substance use disorder and they died of a heart attack unrelated. And they'll just kind of, so sometimes that can be a little dicey because I think we've had multiple funeral homes send us people that weren't quite eligible. And it's, because they want to get their bill paid, and they're, I don't think nobody's trying to be tricky. I just think that it's like it can be a little messy when it comes to like making sure all the criteria is buttoned up. So I think that's one of the things that you just really want to be mindful of when you're partnering with somebody, because then the onus is on them to do the verification, and then you're depending on them to do that, which can be good if you have a really tight partnership and a strong MOU and you guys have worked together tightly, and they're on board. But I think, but also I think that having, I don't know as much about Palmer, but like, I think having a multiple funeral homes can be helpful because they serve different communities. Sometimes, like we have some that serve primarily Spanish speaking, or, Cape Verdean Creole speaking that serve Cape Verdean communities. So I think, yeah, there's pros and cons to that for sure.
Thank you. The other partnership we were thinking about is some combination of the local police department and funeral homes sort of together as sort of that partly verification that you mentioned that you do partner with Boston PD on. So that might be a better route instead of just the funeral homes. So yeah, we really wanted to be mindful of not burdening families with
Yep.
thing to the extent it's possible.
I know, it's a good,
100%.
it's a good thought. And just so you know, Brenda and Elsa too, I didn't mention one of our other members. We do have a police law enforcement representative on this committee, and they've been very involved with post-overdose counseling and follow-up, and what we call out here the DART program, and other kinds of linking people up to services. So definitely, I hear what you're saying, police, fire, EMS, in our community, and I guess I would say neighboring communities, as we think about a Belchertown resident being the applicant, the overdose death could have happened in a neighboring community. So we also have to have connections with, and we have basically, in our community, we have sort of 2 emergency rooms at local hospitals that can be used. So that to me seems like it would be another potential partnership, because maybe someone gets transported to the hospital and the death occurs en route or there. So yeah, lots of those partners to be thinking about, even in a smaller, less populated geographic area.
One other thing I forgot to mention that I think is important is we have something called an extenuating circumstances protocol. So basically, that's like we baked that into the recipe, so that if there's somebody who meets 4 out of the 5 criteria or whatever, but this one piece they don't, we then have like kind of like a case conference with Bullpen, Elsa or I, and then somebody from the health commission, and we discuss it and we de-identify it, because it's weird. It's the legalities around this stuff are very strange, because a health department, if they know the name, that becomes HIPAA protected. But we are just a nonprofit, so we technically HIPAA doesn't really apply to us when it comes to that. So we're still, of course, discreet with the information, but we'll just say this is a 30-year-old woman, whatever, this happened. But that is good because, again, when we were shaping the criteria for this at the very beginning, like we were like, let's go far back, because the opioid epidemic didn't start 2 years ago. Why should people who only lost a loved one within 2 years? But then we realized that we probably would have been inundated if we did go back, farther than that. And then also, like, especially in Boston, where we have a lot of people, in the Mass area and the shelters and the services down there, like a lot of them are not from Boston. They're from New Hampshire. They're from, other parts of the state, because there's a big service hub down there, and there's a lot of resources. So I also think that at some point it could just be if they died in Boston, personally, I think that could be something we'd consider. But again, this extenuating circumstances policy allows you to, look at, maybe they were just partnered together for 20 years, but they never married. Maybe they don't have any relationship to their blood family, but a program that they were at, a homeless shelter, case manager applies on their behalf. Stuff like that. It's a little bit like stuff that comes in, then we're able to discuss it and approve it as a group. But it's not just us, deciding it by ourselves. We loop in the whole team.
Mhm.
Flexibility is important. So
Yeah,
however you figure it out, that even if you do have eligibility criteria, life is complicated and there are going to be
yep,
things that are not going to, part of being understanding of the community you're serving is that a lot of them are not close to their families, or might be estranged from their typical family. They might have other family, that they live with on the streets or whatever it may be, but it might not be considered family and blood relations. So these are the things that we kind of have had to navigate. So we have to kind of leave some flexibility for those circumstances. And so we'll get together and we'll talk. I mean, it's happened, at least 2 or 3 times a month. We'll have to have one of these to just, hey, how about this case? It's almost there, but not quite. What do we think? And so we will go back to it. A lot of other things that, for example, have come up literally within the last few weeks is a lot of people as a result of their drug use pass away for other reasons. And it could be, but it's not going to say on their death certificate, even if we get it on time, that that's why they died. And so it is confusing sometimes for the families, like, well, why wouldn't you cover this if you're covering all these other things? Even though, but it would say, this person passed away of natural causes, and so what are you going to do? So these are some of the things that you have to kind of decide as what your funds are going to cover and not.
great. Yeah, lots to think about. Yeah, from the process, the criteria, the partners, like you said, also, some of what we have recommended be funded and that has been approved so far in our town is not necessarily of the urgent nature of some of this, and also, so lots of things to be thinking about, and then how do you respond? When do you have some flexibility in those extenuating circumstances? And I hear what you're saying too about, and I think our committee members are in a position to also just suss out what other needs are there. I really appreciate the way your program goes beyond. It is obviously that funeral expenses piece, but then the behavioral health, child wellness, even the legal, all of which can be a part of what they're going through immediately after a death or surface a little bit later. And so to have some flexibility to say, when you get to that point where now you're having to think about legal issues, that anyway, to have it be broader, but makes it very complex and something that we also, what we've tried to do as a committee is anticipate what the questions will be from our select board. They want to know exactly what are we recommending be funded, how's it going to work, how's the payment going to flow, how are you monitoring it, that to be sure those dollars are spent in the way that the applicant said they would be. So we want to have all of those things in place, at least to have the framework as we think more about this. So I think we'll be talking more as a committee for sure.
One other thing I didn't mention is the amount we pay. So we pay up to $5,000 per person. It's on our website, but that's kind of the cap. And people can kind of mix and match that. So if they just want to buy the headstone, that's $1,200, and then pay for their kid to go to camp, we can figure that out.
Great. That's helpful as well. To be thinking about, what kinds of parameters, what kinds of maximums.
And it's tough because funerals are often more expensive than that, but then you can serve less families, so it's really dicey. There's a lot to consider, and there's no perfect or imperfect way to do it. It's just like, you just got to get in there and do your best and learn from what you're doing.
Right, and hope that, like you said, with minimal stress to a family or an applicant, that even if it doesn't fully cover all of it, at least that portion is, there's some support there. There's financial support as well as that community support.
Yep.
And that's another way to work with the funeral homes, for example, because they're going to be the beneficiaries of that payment. And for some of them, to be honest, it's much easier to get paid $5,000 for something than to have that hanging over somebody or the person not be able to use the service. So, there are ways in which funeral homes have worked with some of the applicants that we've worked with to make sure that, they do everything that they can to keep it within that price, or that, they give the person some time to work on the other money, whatever it is. So I think that's where the relationship in the community could be, strengthened, and the municipality can kind of intercede on behalf of families or a nonprofit. And that's what you need to figure it out, who's in the best position to really talk to the vendors and talk to the behavioral health systems. Maybe have like we have a resource page on our website, but we want to do more referrals of, like figure out what the continuum is, right? When they leave this service, where should they plug in? And hopefully there is something for them to plug into.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Lots to think about. And we have some, long-standing family-owned funeral homes here in town, neighboring communities. I could definitely see them as big partners, as well as behavioral health care providers. That we don't have a lot of them right in town, but again, most people, can hopefully find what they're looking for in nearby neighboring communities, and then working with them.
There's also the Rise Massachusetts Foundation just put out a matching grant for municipalities.
I
So
saw that.
this, yeah, so that's something that I think could be helpful as well in terms of like kind of getting more bang for your buck and partnering with somebody or partnering with other municipalities or a nonprofit partner. I forget the exact language of the grant, but yeah.
Great. And we are Belchertown is part of a health district with 2 other towns. So sometimes we think about how and when does it make sense to think about partnering on a project, as well as each individual town doing what it feels it needs with its settlement dollars and in other contexts as well. Any other questions from our group, our committee? Thank you so much. I want to give you opportunity to get back to your day, but any other comments, questions? I'll share the slides with the group. I have no doubt we'll be back in touch after probably our October meeting and maybe some conversation today. As we start to think this through. I like your idea, Elsa. Maybe we just kind of plot it out. What would it look like if we went like this? What would it look like if we went this direction, that direction? Who do we need for partners? We could devote some time to further conversation, but this has been super helpful. We've been thinking about this idea for a while, so to hear how it's been implemented in your part of the state has really been helpful.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out to us and for thinking about it. I think it's really important. I'm glad you are, because I think some communities aren't there yet, but I think the ones that are really kind of in touch with what's going on in the community, I think this is something that just naturally comes up. So I really appreciate you, exploring it. And let us know how we can be helpful moving forward. We're here.
Yeah, and also your process. I think just documenting your process of how you go about it and how you reach out to other, because as we think that all of this is helpful for everybody, and eventually when we get to share it publicly, I think if everybody brings how their process went, because other towns are going to be further back than you, some are going to be ahead, and I think when we all compare notes, we will realize that everybody's better off for. Don't make this mistake that we already did, and etc.
Exactly. We have been trying to do that. We've been talking, this committee's been around now for, it'll be 2 years in January of 26 that the committee's been in place. And part of our MO has been, let's talk to other communities. How are they doing this? What might sound good theoretically, how does it actually work on the ground, kind of thing, and really helpful to hear from both of you. But yeah, learn from other folks, model ourselves, and then think about how would it fit with this group who knows this town really well. So, what parts fit, and then where might we make adjustments based on our community. So, great.
Yeah, I want to say
Thank you.
one last thing, then I'll shut up. But the very last thing is that I think that it's also really important in choosing who interfaces directly with the family, because it is very, fraught time, and there needs to be a lot of kind of somebody who needs to be able to connect with the family and speak with them in a way that's not just like, all right, where's your paperwork? But at the same time, keeping a healthy boundary and keeping, so it's tricky, but every family, I've talked to just about every family myself, and it's amazing, they're all phenomenal. They're all interested in being, coming together at some point to have some sort of, meeting or support network. So, but just that piece of it is, the person who interfaces with the family needs to have some sort of awareness around, the best ways to do that, and be thoughtful and kind of trauma informed. I think is important.
Mm-hmm. Really good point. Yep, definitely, absolutely.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Thank
Really-
you all. Thank you. Take care.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
For the rest of your day. Thank you.
You
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, lots to think about.
I immediately thought about the social worker program.
I
As
know.
a person that they would
I know.
interact with.
Right.
Yeah.
If we had that,
Yeah.
or if you're potentially subcontracting with someone. But even, and I think they're right to think about it, maybe at the subsequent meetings, maybe we just, spend most of the time talking about it. I don't know that went long as well, but hopefully it was helpful, because we've been thinking about this idea for a while. But yeah, almost from all, who's gonna talk to the family? Who gets the paperwork? How does that check get cut? Where does the check go? Almost like you gotta walk through the entire thing. How do people even find out about this as an option? From start point A to when maybe an application's in and money's been paid. Anyway, however, and then how do you do that without overwhelming people with the bureaucracy of it at a really difficult time?
So my thought is, if we're doing this via a once a month meeting where we're handling other things, it's gonna take us a year
it'll
to
take a long
even
time.
start.
I know, right?
I think that it would be, my opinion is that it would be appropriate to meet or have a working group who meets.
Yeah.
Even bi-weekly would be so much better.
Yeah.
Because everything just lags. It's gonna
takes so
take
long,
so
right.
long.
To really dig in, we need a group.
One of the things we talked about at Palmer is having the chair call a special meeting that we could call like the next day. It would be over Zoom, and I'm not sure if that's something that works for your committee, but being able to review that application and answer that question really work turnaround.
What is, where's opioid committee up to? What are they doing?
We just got back a bunch of answers to our survey as to what the town would like to see, and we just proposed carryover money for my position that will start after our no cost extension ends for the SPF.
Talking about mini grants.
And we're talking about mini grants.
last.
So you guys have a committee establish an application
Yeah,
process?
it's not like a committee like this one is through the town. It's more informal than that, but yeah.
Because
And I was at a meeting recently where Stuart the town manager talked about making appropriations already through the select board, so,
Right.
yeah.
I was just curious, because if we're talking about crossover monies, then somebody from Belchertown really needs to be involved with where as well, so just to kind of think about that.
Are we talking about crossover needs?
Well, we did with the social worker.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
if that, right,
Okay.
right, as
Yeah, I
part
mean,
of
if
the
we do, if
district.
we're gonna be doing,
Right.
going forward with that, we really need a representative from Belchertown.
Of
on that
course,
committee,
of
so.
course. Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this specific thing. I
Yeah.
wasn't with
Well,
you
I
on
kind
the
of,
social worker.
she mentioned the
Yeah,
social
I-
worker,
oh,
that's
yes,
why I
yes,
asked about
yes.
where you guys were
Yeah.
at and stuff, because like, if that's something that we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
look into, then, you know.
Well, and it sounds like, yes, and I guess I would say whether that is or isn't part of the Quabbin Health District, if there's anything that's multi-town.
Right.
Yeah, all towns need to
Of
be
course.
involved, right,
Mhm.
yeah.
I do think it would be an interesting application for the RISE grant.
For the matching funds grant,
And if
I
we
know,
got multiple towns involved, that you can get up to 300.
right, 300,000?
Yeah, because they'll match up to 150.
Nice.
Wow.
So are we
Anyway,
talking
so-
about social worker or are we talking about the other program? Okay, thank you. Because now I'm confused.
I know, right, that's.
I just
Sorry,
want to
mine-
make sure we're
Well,
on the,
I know.
oh, mine does too, but I just
Right.
want to make sure we're on the same.
I really like the idea of the social worker program,
Mhm.
and I do think the towns really need that.
Mhm.
And I
Absolutely.
think that this program, something like the Halo program, would fit nicely underneath the social worker, because they would hopefully be trauma informed.
Right.
In a good starting point for people to reach out to learn about the
Mhm.
program.
Right, to learn it, right.
And get other resources at the same
Yeah.
time.
And
So
will
to
that-
me, that would be one of the directions, that would be one of the pathways we'd lay out.
Yeah.
Because remember, the Quabbin Health District seemed less than enthusiastic about being the focal point for a social worker. Doesn't mean there's not some other administrative and collaborative way that, multiple towns and maybe, even beyond the towns of the Quabbin Health District. But yeah, if we're talking about this particular program, I totally agree that, with a once a month meeting, it'll probably take us maybe longer than we'd like to figure out some of the details of this. If we're gonna couple that with social worker program, then maybe a working group could, again, plot that out as one pathway. Plot it out with just this kind of family support program or, with additional, new ideas. But the idea of a working group to really dig into, who then recommends to this full committee what they've laid out and how they've, or at least the ideas that they have.
Right.
Here's what it could look like.
Has Belchertown talked about a social worker?
Palmer has definitely talked about a social worker.
Palmer has.
You said Belchertown. It's like,
You're in Belchertown this morning, yeah? Right next door, our neighbor, Palmer.
I like the special meeting thing though, because it's immediate.
Right.
And if we're able to.
Remember though,
We
we are
48 hour.
we have 72
Right.
hours now. We, as a full committee, a working group,
48.
as long as
so-
your working
so
group
that's-
is less than your full committee,
Okay.
it's not a quorum. A working group can meet as often and without having to publicize,
Right,
not subject to open meeting law.
yeah, we get different
When-
bylaws.
If you project into the future, and if we had this kind of funding program.
Yeah.
We'd have to have a group that could meet urgently
Yeah.
and still, and make, approval of actual expenditure. This particular family needs that $5,000 for
Yes.
X.
Right.
So yeah, we'd have to figure out that too. And make sure nobody violates open meeting law, but a working group, so here's my recommendation, we're a 7-member committee officially. A 3-member working group is below the quorum, so no open meeting law stuff to worry about. That could work, that could meet, like you said, Jill, bi-weekly, so in between the monthly meetings, come and report, come and share what you've talked about, what your thoughts are. See it working that way?
I think that
That
would be
would work.
efficient.
Yeah.
Mhm. I think that would be efficient.
Just as your chair, I volunteer to be on that committee because it seems like it's appropriate. Not that I want to dominate it, or if you'd rather not have me on it, that's okay too. Any other volunteers who wants to be on it, Chris?
So,
Or what do you
okay.
think?
I guess I was thinking that, I guess we have to do that first before we have a little working committee if we're doing multi-town, right?
Oh, that's true too.
I
If
guess
you're
it-
thinking
yeah.
about, right, if you're thinking about multi-town, to have the conversation
yes.
about this kind of support fund and or the social worker program. So then we probably.
I don't have a preference or recommendation whether that needs to be first.
The working committee is specific to the funeral expense stuff, right?
Or this family
The
overdose
family,
support.
yes,
fund,
right,
Um,
so we have, that's only in Belchertown though.
Well,
are we
we don't
partnering
know.
or are we not partnering? I don't know.
That's a really
With
good
funeral
question too.
expenses, but don't each town, they have their own.
Well, it would have to, right, we would have to figure it out and have a memorandum of an understanding of how that would work.
Right.
Because Palmer would pay for Palmer people. And
Right.
I don't know
Well,
what that looks
here's,
like.
I know,
Also, the social worker,
and it's,
we have to figure out what our
Right.
end goal is
right, and it's a good reminder as well.
first.
The working group can also have members on it who are not committee members.
Right.
Because then they don't, they don't add to the quorum.
It's
Just
kind of
to-
like our umbrella wellness that we do. We have like 5 working group members, but we don't have,
Right,
like, it's
we don't
not
have,
official, but we do.
And here would be my suggestion, because we've got 2 people here who are already involved with other towns.
Right.
That if we're gonna think about, and maybe the working group further thinks through the idea of a multi-town family overdose support fund, which I got their application there, or social worker, that we have people who represent multiple towns, which both Emma
I nominate
and
Emma.
Emily do.
You're in Palmer and you're in Ware, like, yeah, I mean, it's perfect.
So,
And you don't add to the quorum like I would.
yeah.
That's right, yeah, you would add to the quorum.
Like,
But
yeah,
you two obviously will be talking to each other,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Emily will, all right, so.
Yeah, I won't not.
All right, so we've got Emma, and I didn't mean to jump the gun. If you'd rather not have the chair on the committee, that's okay too. We just need to know, if you're then gonna be reporting on the subsequent agenda, we'll just make that a regular, thing. And we'll figure out whether go to meeting or Zoom.
Mhm.
Actually, as a working group, I think you can use Zoom. You don't have to use go to meeting, right? So, all right, so I've got Emma. You wanna be on it?
I am having an inner dialogue because
Something new and different.
I
We
know,
like that.
I so want to be on it.
I know.
I'm so afraid, time-wise.
Yeah.
I know. Because we're talking, so you're really talking every 2 weeks. We're talking bi-weekly again, so that you're meeting sort of maybe, before and after this monthly meeting. I know, it's a lot of time.
Could you, does it have to be the same person every time? Or could
Ooh,
you like
there's a
switch
thought.
on or
I
off
know,
with like
okay.
the,
You could rotate it.
Yeah.
Because it's not an official
Because
group.
it's not
Yeah,
really an
it's not an
official
official
committee.
committee.
That's
I like
Some
that.
have rotating people.
I'm not
I love it.
volunteering myself.
Well, and remember, David and Neil are not
Well, that's what
here.
I'm thinking. You
as
might wanna be
well.
involved.
Right.
If they may or may not want to be involved, like I said, other folks can also
Yeah.
be involved, non-committee
And it
members.
doesn't have, there's not a quorum, it's not, you don't
Right,
have to be there every time, you know what I mean?
yeah, because I
Right.
do want to be involved.
Yeah, just committing to bi-weekly, I understand.
I know.
Oh, believe me, I'm like,
Oh, Jill.
but it'll be
Oh, Jill.
okay.
I
It'll be okay.
understand. All right, so
Once I get there, once I get here, I'm fine.
somebody, so do we want to go away from this meeting today
Mm-hmm.
with a date and a time for an online meeting of the working group?
Yes.
Then I can share that info. And as long as it's not more than, 3 committee members, official committee members, it's okay. So it's almost like folks can sort of,
Well, I'm sure there'll be an email
Right.
about when it's going to
Right.
happen, and then
yep, let me pull out.
we
the
can
calendar.
communicate
Right.
regarding who that
Right.
third person will be
And here's
for that
what,
week. That's my thought.
right, here's what I will offer, if I do or don't attend the meeting can be to be determined, but if we can get away with it, I guess I'm happy to offer my Zoom account. I have like a professional grade Zoom account, or for QHSUA,
We have our own.
you have your own?
You can use.
All right, take
Yeah,
advantage of yours.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at, I appreciate the fact that folks are still here. I know it's late and we've got some other stuff on our agenda, but let's see. So this will be the overdose support fund / social worker, maybe, whatever we call it, working group.
It's a beautiful acronym.
And that just, just as a reminder, based on our regular monthly schedule, the next time this full committee would be meeting would be October 27th. So anytime before that would get you the opportunity to talk before that next meeting.
The week of the 13th, that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
What is going on here?
Just to note that Monday is Indigenous Peoples' Day, Monday the 13th, right?
Correct,
So
yes.
I'm guessing a lot of folks will be on holiday day.
And Boat has a meeting on
when?
I think the 15th, that's on my calendar.
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. So
It goes automatically to my calendar. It's very confusing for me. Like, what? What am I doing?
all right, so this working
Would you
group-
prefer to do it the same day, or would
Makes
you
no difference to
prefer-
us. I mean, we could do it right after at 10 o'clock if we want to, the vote meeting.
Is that
Or, I mean, are we gonna do it online though? Because I'd
I
have to
think
get back
it
to
was
my office.
right.
It sounds like, so
Ah.
QHSUA is volunteering their Zoom account. which we
Alright, so
appreciate.
10:30?
Yeah.
I could do 10:30 on the 15th.
How do we feel like about that? Anybody?
So
That way it'll give me some time. to get
All
back
right, so
to work.
October 15th,
10:30.
10:30 a.m. So far what I'm hearing, Emma may be there, Jill may be there,
I will be there,
Chris will be there.
unless something happens.
If I show up, I'm only still the third official person. Okay,
I'll be there in spirit.
maybe I don't know, maybe David or Neil. I know it's probably tough for Neil, but I don't know. All right, well, let's
Yeah,
think about it. As
okay.
long as we,
Mhm.
and if we get there and we've got too many committee members, then
Somebody can
somebody hops
leave.
off. Right,
Yeah,
somebody
I'll
just
send-
hops
Get
off.
out.
I'll make the link and send it to you, Gail. So
Okay.
you can go out.
Great, thank you. All right, so we've got a working group to really dig in, and so that we can maybe hasten our timetable for family support, overdose support, and or social worker. Okay, cool. All right, excellent. All right, I realize it's like almost 11:30. If folks can folks stay for another 10, 15 minutes or so?
Yep.
I think Lauren had to maybe hop off. I know we're going later than we typically do, but,
Yeah, I have to hop off too. I have an 11:30 to get ready for. So.
okay, thank you, Angela. I'm sorry we went overtime.
Oh, that's okay. This was a great meeting.
I'm hoping it was helpful and it'll give us plenty of thoughts. I will say to everybody, committee member and or partner, non-official voting member, anybody, any ideas or thoughts you have after hearing all the info from the Boston folks, just email it to me. Just think about how would this look and fit like in Boston, in Belchertown and or other neighboring communities. But any ideas you have, shoot them my way and then we can start compiling it. Cool. All right, so we did that. I'll do one thing really quickly, nobody's gonna care. The Attorney General's changing the format for how you do your reporting as a municipality. Jill and I are gonna take a look at our application forms and maybe capture information that can go right from the application form to the reporting form, based on how they're gonna ask us questions. So we'll take a look at that. And just a reminder now too, no matter how much money any town gets, they have to report. So good luck to some of these small towns who haven't done it before because they didn't have to. If they under 35 grand, you didn't have to report. So now they're gonna need to report. Anyway,
Super hard.
I know.
Going for the towns that get like $7.
I know, I was gonna say, some of the towns in the Quabog Hills area have not had to do any reporting because they got so little money, but we'll take care of that. All right, let's move quickly into our updates, and then we'll try to wrap up.
Answer is no.
Nothing on drug-free communities. I
No,
know,
there's
no
a-
word.
Email out to Greg this morning, and
Okay.
email out to Grant Solutions this morning.
Okay.
They should be coming out this week. Last week,
Our
they
fingers
finally
crossed.
did look at the, reports, DFC reports, which we did get like very high remarks on,
Okay,
like
but
good.
don't
good
worry,
stuff.
that had
Yeah,
nothing to do
So,
with
but
that.
I don't
Anyway,
know
yeah.
if they were waiting to look at that report. I don't really know.
Legally, they actually can't.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, they only can go by your
So,
application.
yeah, we're
Anyway,
waiting.
all right, so no news from the feds.
Hopefully by the end of the
The
week.
community of Ludlow is waiting as well, and others around us, I'm sure.
Oh, really?
For year
Oh,
one,
for year
yeah, they
ones.
haven't heard yet
Oh,
either.
just the continuations got notified then. Only the continuations from year 2 to 5 and 7 to 10.
Oh, yes, right,
Yeah.
exactly. You
Yeah,
got
the
those
continue, only the
for
continuations.
year 10, right.
Not applications.
Right.
Okay.
They
Not the-
waited
not the
until
year
absolute
ones.
last minute to
I
let me
know.
know about the new.
Oh, yeah.
No
I
cost
know.
extension for mine.
I know, right? You said you got it like
On Saturday.
days.
I love
Jesus.
Oh, of course.
Don't get me started on the feds. We're being recorded, so don't get me started. But anyway, so hopefully by October, even sooner, we'll know about drug-free communities.
Should
Honest
I
beginnings. What?
contact Jill? Do I contact you when we get notified of DFC?
Yes, please.
Then I would also,
Well, I mean,
maybe Jill can do it,
Just
but
the
let
financial.
the town manager
Right.
know, because then we need to let the select board know.
Okay, so maybe, yeah.
Steve, and then
Steve, right.
I'll see, like, yeah, you and
Right.
Steve.
Yeah, CC me, I'm not offended,
Okay,
I'll
there you
CC
go.
I have
you, Jill.
more important things to worry about than whether I'm the primary on the email, I really don't care.
All right, good. So yeah, and unless, assuming that, the budget that was requested for, if the federal funding doesn't come through, then yeah, that can just move ahead. It's already approved. No
Yeah.
need for, just to inform the select board. They don't have to vote again or anything. They've already voted, so cool. All right, let me turn to Jill for honest beginnings.
Okay, I can talk fast.
Okay.
I do have a report as to where we are. Actually, I meant to bring a request for the next quarter because we're well past the first quarter. Technically, the first quarter was supposed to end June 30. But we got the money July 1st or whatever.
Right.
So at some point, we'll need to approve the next round. 4 individuals were helped. 2 were partial because they did not stay the full month.
Gotcha.
So they're prorated.
Okay.
And so as for the next thing,
Yeah, the next application.
I have an application for a driveway situation. So pass them down.
Okay.
Honest Beginnings, we've been there since 2017. The house itself is on the side of a hill, like a really steep hill. And it is on a private shared driveway. Sorry, my mind just skipped a beat. A private shared driveway with an additional driveway to the house that goes to the private drive. Okay. So the house driveway is in incredible disrepair. It's very steep. The water comes down the hillside from above, obviously, down the hillside and washes out what's there. It's not paved. And it is undermining the shared driveway. It's to the point where it's an emergency. We have to do it. We can't let it further undermine that shared drive because it affects other households. So that is the kind of the long and the short of the application. There is an estimate that was received earlier this month, as to what the cost will be, which is $13,160. And it lists the work as well.
So is the driveway being paved, it's shared with the other homes?
Not that.
Not the
It will
driveway,
not-
but is that being paved too?
No.
Just the driveway?
No, just the house part.
Oh,
So
okay.
the shared drive is here, and then there's a driveway up to the house.
Yep.
And it's the driveway up to the house. It's
Okay.
not,
Yeah.
it's to help the undermining of
Prevent
of
others.
the shared.
Because it's washing out.
Right,
It's
it's
washing
really
out.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it, it's bad.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I could barely drive my SUV up it.
It's
I
bad.
mean, it was that bad. I mean, it was, you have to go real slow. There's just holes everywhere. It's just like
It's-
uneven and.
So if you have a low profile car,
Yeah,
it's not
you're gonna get in
happening.
trouble.
And I'm assuming that the participants in the program, if they need transportation, little minivans and other things are going up that driveway.
Right.
So you've got a fair amount of traffic there with
Yes,
the
I mean,
participants and staff.
Yes, and the participants don't always have vehicles, so we might have half, maybe 5
Right.
or 6, but
And
it's
so
still,
it's
there are
something that's-
pickups, there are,
Right.
That
And if you have
Really-
a Corolla or something low, you're just.
Yeah.
Right.
yes, oh, yes,
Exactly.
yes, and there are visits by whomever.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is our current application that just came in. There will be an application for, I'll just quickly go over, there will be an application for, rearranging basically the bottom floor. We're on in a
The raised ranch.
raised ranch, and the bottom floor serves as bedrooms, but it's not really conducive to what is there. And that is a big priority for the organization to get that more user-friendly for our clients.
Does that mean like knocking down walls to reconfigure things and have bedroom
And
space?
specific
and
closets for
Mhm.
each individual, like that's
Yeah.
that's the vision.
Yep.
So that there would be a little closet to go along with the beds, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it just would make a lot more sense than what we have going on right now.
I see 4 official members of this committee here this morning. Do you want us to take a vote on the driveway repair? You can. Oh, that's
Yeah,
right, you
I'm just
can't.
about
I'm
to
sorry.
say.
Thank you for reminding
Yeah, I
me
cannot.
because
Oh,
you're on
it's
the
a bummer
board.
because Angela just got
I
on.
know.
I know.
Well, you know what, Angela's on.
Oh, Angela's
that's
on the
right.
board, that's true.
So we have to
So,
wait
All
for.
right, so we have
Yeah.
to wait till October's meeting?
Yeah.
And, okay,
Okay.
all right. Well, take a look at it,
Yep.
everybody, and, I don't have too much concern that we'll
Looks good.
be in support of it. Great, and then you said maybe another application will be coming for the renovation, reconfiguration of the basement to make
Thank
it
you.
better
Reconfiguration.
for bedroom and closet space, and just for the residents who are there, the participants in the program. Perfect. All right, anything else on Honest Beginnings? The
No.
folks are coming in for people as they expected. Not everybody stays that first month, and
Right.
maybe those folks will be back at some
Right.
point, and they can
Yeah, that's.
take
yeah.
advantage again.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
When you're ready, you're ready.
That's right, exactly. All right,
My
um,
only, I have a small concern about the end of October, by the time the select board.
I know, right.
It's
You
gonna
wanna,
be-
should we move our meeting?
Can we call it?
You can, I could call a special meeting to take a vote.
Yeah.
Would you
We
be
can call
willing
special
to,
meetings now.
would you be willing to do that? Because
Yeah,
I'm
let's
looking
think
at,
about
I
doing
know
it.
the season is
Yeah,
limited.
yeah,
I know,
and
you
And
don't
by the
want to
time
wait
the board
until-
gets it, now
Right.
it's November.
Yeah,
and
It's too cold for them to do
Let's,
what they need to do.
All right, let's,
And you don't want it to go into winter, because that to make it a
all that much worse.
Yeah.
Right, and if it's the only agenda item, it can all be done
Yeah.
virtually.
Mhm.
Yep.
And it can be really quick. I can post it with the town clerk. So if we were to look at October for a special meeting, so we just said the 15th, right, for the working group. Again, town clerk only needs 72 hours notice. We could do it that same week. Or do it the week of the 6th, week of the 1st. I mean, whatever you think is good. Sooner rather than later. You want to try to go the week of the 1st?
Sure.
What do we got on the, there's a RISE webinar, by the way, on October 2nd about the matching funds grant. So I'll make a note to myself, send that info. I just signed up for it. Send info about matching funds grant. RISE and Mosaic.
The one on the 16th is for municipal partnership, yeah. Municipal.
So October 1st, October 2nd, before or maybe after that RISE webinar goes from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. I'm also open totally on Friday, October 3rd. So this would be a special meeting to consider and take a vote on the Honest Beginnings driveway proposal. So it shouldn't be too long if that's our only agenda item. What's good for you, Jill? Your schedule is packed.
The 2nd is not good for me, but I can't vote anyway.
Oh, you can't vote anyway, but you can be there if you give information, although we got it all in the application, so maybe better.
I can't.
October 2nd.
You wanna,
Yeah, I'm good at any time after noon on the 2nd.
all right, you wanna say October 2nd? I'm just gonna write right on here, although it's gonna make it messy, but then you'll give me another copy. Right?
I will, I have plenty.
All right, meeting on, so we're talking October 2nd, anytime afternoon. Tell me what's good for you all who are working and
Anytime
busier
after
than me.
12
1 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
All right, meeting on 10/2 at 1 o'clock PM via, I may do go to meeting or I might do Zoom. Oh no, if it's official, I gotta do go to meeting. And only to vote on this application. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, so then we'll be sure we can get so Angela's also on the board,
Yeah.
so we're gonna need
Neil.
Neil or David. Or both. Happy to have both, but we need at least one of them. Okay.
If anybody individually has questions about the application, they can email me and I can send them over to the board president.
Okay, cool. Can you email me the application as well?
Absolutely.
Then I can get it to David.
Oh, I did
Oh,
already.
you did already? Oh,
I did
she's
already.
on top of it. It's all done. Good, everybody's got it. Everybody read it. It
Just to
pretty,
you.
it looks pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
All right, we'll get it to you,
Okay.
if anybody needs it, I'll attach it as part of the meeting notice on the 2nd. All right, so, and we decided what about us? Did we decide to move our meeting? Where did we go with that? The 15th, right?
Yep.
Oh, no, that's the working group.
That's the
Wait a
working
minute.
group.
Oh, when we're meeting again?
Oh, so our
27th.
regular meeting is still the 27th.
Yeah.
The 2nd is to deal with
Mhm.
application.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're on for both. 2nd, the working group's on the 15th, regular meeting on the 27th. All right, keeping my meeting straight here. All right, keep this. All right, great. I know it's getting really late. Just to make note, the amount of money that Honest Beginnings is requesting, if you took a look at the Jabesh Brook Middle School, their after-school program that we funded,
Yeah.
they're kicking back over $16,000.
Wow.
They didn't
Oh, they
spend it.
got, oh.
Yeah, they didn't spend it
Wow.
all. Look, if you look at the last page, I know it's all the way at the last page after all the pretty charts
Wow.
in the end of year report that I sent you all.
Yeah.
But
That's
they just
lovely.
didn't have the expenses, so in some ways, This is
Wow,
perfect.
yeah, this is great.
They're already turning back 16,000.
Great.
All right, done with that. Again, knowing that we're not meeting fully until the 27th, I just wondered if, Chris, you had anything about the library, the CLAP library
Yeah,
program
so,
for October?
I'm working with Marcin on doing that right
Okay.
now. She does have the WOW bus, we have the flyer set to go
Okay,
for the WOW bus. I need to do the wellness flyer still,
okay.
and because I basically took over it, so it's another thing.
The WOW bus is what?
The WOW bus is
Wellness
a,
on Wheels.
Wellness on wheels.
Oh,
Wellness on
fantastic.
Wheels from Bay
There
State.
we go.
Bay State Health Systems has a
Yeah, it's
big
awesome.
old giant bus
It is
with all
huge.
kinds of.
That's
fun.
exciting.
Makes you say,
so,
wow.
so far we
That's
have,
right.
I spoke with NA and, they're gonna give us like a rack, a permanent rack to bring for the resource thing every time we do it. And then Wick will be there,
Oh, nice.
confirmed, we're gonna be there, obviously, Hampshire Hope's gonna be there. And I have to reach out to a couple other people on my plate, but I'm only gonna get like 6 people.
That's
That's
like
all right,
6
that's
words.
good.
But that's
not
every
overwhelming.
time, you know,
Yeah,
because
we
we don't,
don't wanna overwhelm.
it's not a wellness
Right.
fair, it's
No,
just
no,
like
no,
a
it's-
resource.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and whatever is available is available,
Right.
and it will give you the opportunity to figure out what,
right,
who
right,
to
so I'm
work
trying
on
to
next.
pull in like
Yeah.
different
Yep.
sources and stuff, I mean,
Recently, I got a call from a newer program in Springfield. It's a recovery program. They do
Balanced
help-
recovery.
Yeah, and they do, yeah,
You
they
got
call
that
you
too?
too,
right?
You
Yeah.
got it too?
I
Cool.
actually, yes,
Yeah.
yes, they will be
Okay.
at the 5K.
Oh,
Yes.
nice, okay. Just in case if you didn't realize, they do telehealth for mental and
Yep.
behavioral health stuff, so
Yeah,
that might be a
that's
good
awesome.
resource.
Cool. Yeah.
Safe Spot, if you ever need a person from Safe Spot, I have a connection there. They would love to do more tabling out here. I'm gonna
Okay.
contact them.
we are
Mobile.
connected now.
Good.
Mobile
Now-
now.
Do I remember, in the initial planning and then obviously with the transition and the public health nurse, things got moved around. Is the library picking up the tab for any refreshments? I guess I'm wondering whether
You know, they
you or-
said they were the first time, so I kind of assumed when you
All right.
assume you do
Yeah,
what, but.
I know, but,
Yeah,
all right.
so, I did assume that they were gonna do it again, I have not connected with her on it, but I can. Cause I mean, it can come from us, from our funding, you know, it is.
From your DFC?
No,
From
opioid settlement.
opioid
settlement,
settlement, okay.
Yes. So it's covered either way.
Right, so if you and, I guess what I'm saying is.
I'll check in with
Okay.
Marcin again
Yeah.
and check, and then I'll reach back to you.
Okay.
You know,
Cool.
if that's the case, then, we'll figure it out.
Okay, if anybody puts out money, just keep receipts for whatever,
Okay.
and then we'll be sure
And
to
we'll-
get people
yes.
reimbursed.
Yes, that's great.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to be sure that.
Yeah, that's
What's
right
the
there,
date?
and then
What's the date of that one?
October
Sorry.
17th?
Oh, 17th, yeah, okay, 17th,
Off the top of my head.
Is it a Friday?
Yes.
Friday?
Okay.
Yep, 3 o'clock.
That's right.
October 17th, okay, I
Yep.
thought it might be the 24th, but
3
17th,
o'clock.
okay, good.
And then also, we continue to do the pop-ups around fentanyl, so we have Save a Life Day this Thursday that we're doing, free Narcan fentanyl test strips and lockbox giveaways, and,
Okay.
also doTERRA medication.
Yes, yes.
You know, cause we got like
People were excited
a couple
about those.
cases of those.
Mhm. When Angela and I did the farmer's market, people
Oh,
were
yeah.
excited about those.
Yeah, they are.
Good, cool.
Okay.
All right, I think we got to the stuff that we need to deal with, just because we're running really late, and I know folks had to hop off. There is a 2:30 meeting today of Lauren and the countywide Hampshire Hope group that
Okay.
comes together, so I'm gonna hop on that. I know Chris has been
Yeah,
there
I'll be
as
on
well.
there. Yeah.
Just sometimes good to hear what other folks in Hampshire
Right.
County are doing. We'll leave the other stuff. We've got plenty on our plate. I think I'll hold off on getting in touch with anybody from Franklin, the town of Franklin,
Yeah.
with respect to their art pharmacy program.
Mhm.
Although it was highlighted on that Attorney General's webinar
Really?
recently that I was on. Yes, the town manager from Franklin, the town of Franklin talked about it and how helpful and useful it was. But anyway, we'll get there. I think we've got enough on our plate with the overdose support fund and or social worker stuff to pursue. We've got a plan. We've got another application from Honest Beginnings. I think we're good to go.
Yes.
I guess officially I'll just entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
So moved. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 11:44 is on my watch, and I will stop the recording.